outside of these first-round matchups to something I think that's a little bit more evergreen, a little bit more of an overview, but it's one of my favorite things that The Athletic does every single year, which is the 2023 Anonymous NBA Player Poll, and goddamn am I loving it. They poll so this is what they do. They poll 102 NBA players, and they ask them the questions that we all wanna know, right? Who do you not wanna fight? Who is the most overrated player in the league? The big question, of course, is the MVP. Um, half of the players, they usually get it wrong. Half of the players this time said it's Joel Embiid. I think that's good for him. I'm guessing he'll finally get that coveted MVP. He wants it. I'm not sure Nikola Jokic really does. I'm not sure the media particularly wants to give Jokic 3 of them in a row. And one player summed it up best. Definitely Embiid because they're winning games. They're one of the best teams in the East. I think he kind of should have won it last year. But I mean, Jokic is also having a phenomenal season. But I think this year, Embiid is the leading scorer. They're about even, really. They're really in a dead heat. It's kind of like dealer's choice, whatever you like best. In the poll for best defender, this was a good one. It was a runaway. And I can say 100% these NBA players, they know ball. They know ball. They 100% right. 29% of the NBA players picked Drew Holiday. Hell yeah. I think he's the best defender in the league. And Lou Dort coming in second with 11%. Players love the versatility that he brings on defense, especially since he can and has guarded 1 through 5. I am an unabashed Drew stan. It's great to see him getting the respect from his peers because goddamn the media won't give it to him. He needs Defensive Player of the Year. He does. He needs to win one. Drew also won Most Underrated Player with 17.5% as well. Second place was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Love to see it. Both those boys are phenomenal on both sides of the court. Here's an interesting question. Pick one player in the league to build a roster around. If you were to do that, who would you choose? NBA players overwhelmingly responded with one dude. Who is it? It's Giannis. It's fucking Giannis. Not a shock, but here's the thing. It was like overwhelming. 52.4%, with a distant second being Jokic at 8.7%. That's the best compliment you could get. That means he's the best player in the league. That means that he's the only guy that you want to start a franchise around. Probably the funniest one, though, the funniest topic on this list that The Athletic does is most overrated player. And the most overrated player, of course, is Trey Young. Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, he is. By a fucking mile, too. 31.5% of NBA players poll Trey Young is the most overrated player in the NBA. Number 2 was Julius Randle, and number 3 was Pascal Siakam. They were both tied for second place at 7.4%. I just did a TikTok explaining that Trey Young is sort of overrated, and people were very mad. Trey Young stans came out of the woodwork. But listen, people who are listening to this poll, people who are reading it, they know. They destroyed the comment section. No question. Trey Young, probably one of the most overrated players in the league in recent memory. Not just right now, but in recent memory. Hate to see that. Hate to see people bringing facts to the equation when the stands come out to play. For shits and giggles, though, I thought what this was also interesting is the GOAT question. Obviously, MJ was going to win it. But what's interesting is that the distance between Mike and Braun is closing. At one point, it was huge, and now it's 58-33. I think if Braun wins another one, the gap gets even closer. Other fun polls. Who would you least like to fight? James Johnson, 13-year-old journeyman. He's played for 11 teams. I did a TikTok on him. Check that out. But listen, he's a tough man. He is apparently 20-0 in kickboxing. Apparently, all of his siblings, he has 8, and both of his parents all have black belts in karate. And that's nuts. That's it. That's the end. Yeah, of course I don't want to fight that guy. Steven Adams, probably a close second. What arena has the worst fans? I was surprised by this one. Hornets won with 15.2%. So, I'm not sure. Is it like just the least interested fans? Is it the worst fans if you play for the team? Is it the worst fans for an opposing team? I don't understand it, but I never have considered their fan base to be like particularly bad. I've just never really thought of them at all. Maybe that's why they're the worst. I've never once thought, what is it like at a Charlotte Hornets game? Never one time until right now. Now I'm like, what is it like? I kind of want to know now. Detroit was second at 11%. That's disrespectful. I love watching games in Detroit. I saw the Warriors play the Pistons earlier this year. It was a great vibe. The arena with the best fans, this one's going to be funny for you. Boston. Boston? I don't know about that, Chief. No. So here's where it's funny. 18% of the NBA players picked Boston, which is like, I guess, a pretty big coincidence given that the NBA, 17% of the NBA is white. So where'd those 1% come from? Where'd that 1% gap come from? I don't know if this poll was made up exclusively of NBA players who played in Boston, but Sacramento was second at 12.1%, which makes more sense. Golden One is a great arena. The coach, there's another interesting category. The coach you'd least like to play for, we have a runaway winner, folks. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Don't you think too hard. Don't you think too hard. It's Thibodeau. It is. You knew it was Thibodeau, didn't you? You mean to tell me that it's not appealing for your coach to make you run wind sprints the day after an overtime loss? You mean to tell me you don't want to do that at 6 a.m.? You mean to tell me that's not like a fun coach to play for? I remember meeting him and I'm like, yeah, I've never met a coach where I can like look at a player and say Tibbs guy or no Tibbs guy. Like there's no other coach in the league where you're like, Spoelstra would never let that guy play for him. Steven Silas, who is gone and fired, he made the list at 14.5%, which I think probably reflects how many trades Houston has made in the last 3 years. Like, I think half the league has played for Steven Silas. Finally, current coaches the NBA players would most want to play for. The runaway answer here, still pretty surprising, actually. Greg Popovich. What? Nearly a quarter of the league would want to play for Greg Popovich. It must be like a legacy thing. Like, oh yeah, I played for Pop. Like, oh yeah, I played with Jordan kind of a thing. It seems a little weird until you dig into his background. You read stories about how he changes players' lives. If you look at DeMar DeRozan has wildly high praise for Greg Popovich. One of the true OG player coaches, and he tears up nearly every time he talks about what Pop means to him. He's a god. Greg Popovich is a god. Even at his old age, most players want to play for him, which is crazy. Amazing. Steve Kerr was second at 13.7, which I think also makes some sense as well.